Hey, folks, welcome to So Bad It's Good with Ryan Bailey. This is your pal Ryan, and this is your Monday episode. We are doing a pop culture roundup with Sophie Ross. And Sophie, by the way, she is calling in from France. Yeah, she's not even there for the Olympics. It was a spur of the moment trip. She will explain all about it when you get to our section. And yeah, I was like, oh my God, it's So Bad It's Good send Sophie to cover the Olympics, and she's not even in Paris. She's just another stupid part of France or something like that. How the heck are you guys doing out there? How was your weekend? Also, I want you to know there are timestamps, so you can skip right to Sophie right now. No skin off my back. Listen to this podcast however you want to listen to this podcast. Now, you might be watching this on YouTube, and there'll be two separate videos, one for Sophie and one for this, because I'm going to talk a little bit about my weekend, do a bunch of other pop culture stories, just because I feel, listen, the last couple of weeks, I've had some real weird mic issues, Wi-Fi issues. The whole thing is jinxed. Even though we've managed to keep the show going, it is very frustrating. The Orange County Rap podcast on Saturday, we had a lot of popping noises for the first 10 minutes. I don't know if there's a ghost in the machine, but I just tore apart my computer, all my microphones, checked all my settings. I got a Wi-Fi extender. I got a new cord for my mic. So hopefully we're on a little bit of better footing because I've said this before, but I'll say it again. There is nothing worse than to wake up to comments of there's something wrong with your sound. It is a horrible feeling. So hopefully we can correct this, but thank you for hanging in with us because I do know I'm not an idiot. I know it's frustrating. So thank you. Thank you for letting me know. I am working on it. So hopefully today will be smooth sailing, even though I will say Sophie had a bad Wi-Fi connection. But that's France's fault. That's France's fault, not Sophie's fault, not my fault. That is France. I didn't listen. France. You guys got Olympics fever? I just spent a couple of hours watching the Olympics tonight. And it's insane. It is insane. What's more insane is I'll watch something like that and I'll be like, I could do that. Are you like the balance beam? I was like, I think I could do that. There's no way I could possibly do it. But it almost fools you, not the flip part, but there's like the part where they just kind of make the body movements where they'll put the body in and then they'll point their toes on the balance beam. And I was like, I could do that part of it. The flip thing, I don't think I could do, but that other part of it, I could totally do. I have really great arches in my feet. I don't know if I've ever told you, and I've never really sold feet pictures yet, but I do have really great arches. So I know I can point the hell out of my toes. And I think that would really come in handy. They have this one feature at the Olympics that I'm noticing where they put heart rate monitors on the families of the competitors. I was watching this one dad, his BPM was at like 161. That's not good. And he was watching his daughter on the balance beam. His heart rate was spiking at 161. And then they took the heart rate monitor away. And I was like, keep that heart rate monitor up. Like, let's just keep checking on this guy throughout the night. I was fascinated with this. They don't even have the heart rate monitor on the Olympians. It's like the families of the Olympians. Like, how dystopic, how Hunger Games is that? It feels weird. But are you guys into the Olympics? That opening ceremony on Friday, what Lady Gaga, Celine Dion, Snoop Dogg, Snoop Dogg carrying the torch. I mean, it's insane. And Celine Dion, you tear up because Celine Dion, I've covered her a couple times this year because she has stiff person disease. And I just watched that amazing documentary about Celine Dion on Amazon Prime, which I've talked about. And to see her perform, knowing what she's gone through these last couple of years is amazing. And it says she's in talks to do her Vegas show again. So I'm really curious about an update on Celine, if she's in remission from this, what's happening. But it was so emotional to watch her sing. And it's so beautiful. And I just thought that's what the Olympics are about, right? It's like, it's a story about people that work so hard, that train at their craft, and they go for gold. Like, because we can't understand it. Like, some of us are like, I can't understand putting that much time into something or having that kind of talent and that kind of wherewithal to do something that incredible and to risk losing so much, to have the heart of a champion, to be a fighter, all of these things like Simone Biles. I mean, amazing. And that's the thing you watch this for, is because they'll pick little stories. You'll see this over the next couple of weeks. There'll be stories from the Olympics of like people overcoming injuries and triumphing over things that have maybe held them down a little bit, and going for that gold. And I think that's what it is, because we're always looking for inspiration. I think in this day and age, and maybe it's always been like this, but I notice it a lot more since I'm so like online now, is everything like we get off on negativity. I do it every damn day, every damn hour. We want to know how bad things are sometimes. It's like slowing down to watch a car accident. Pop culture is filled with those stories. Oh my God, when is Ben and J-Lo actually going to announce their divorce? Oh my God, why is Tom Cruise so weird? Oh my God, this or that or this or that. And so sometimes it's nice to remind ourselves that we also like triumph. We also like stories that are filled with heart. Watching families come together to support their child. I mean, so many things, because then I think it kind of inspires us in our lives. And how can we be a little bit better? How can we work a little bit harder? How can we try to inspire the people around us and potentially the world? Well, we ain't doing that on this podcast today, but I do think, like, I'm not a sports guy, you know that as well, but there is something, and I wasn't really that even excited about the Olympics. But then what happens usually around the opening ceremony, and I forget about this every time. Like, I always say I'm not into it, and then it comes up, and then all of a sudden I'm into it for 2 weeks. And then I'll forget about it like a week later. But for those 2 weeks, I'm like, God, I'm like into the Olympics right now. Wow. Into the Olympic. Like, listen, Vanderpump Rules, if they can find some way to get some of the cast members of Vanderpump Rules out to France, I think I think that would be amazing. I mean, we've seen that joke time and time again now, is that the fact that they didn't license Good as Gold by Miss Sheena Shea is a crime. Can you imagine standing there up there on the podium? They're given the silver, they're given the bronze, and then Sheena's song comes on. And you're just like, I mean, that would make me proud to be an American. Like, could you imagine that? US 2024. Ryan Bailey. It's in the fold. Hit it. Like, imagine that. They're stepping on the steps. Yeah. Yeah. Woo. This is what the Olympics is about. This song right here. Uh-uh. Woo! Uh. That would be how excited would you be at every award ceremony?
I can't believe
I can't believe
Tom Sandoval
what
had
that they give
Raquel
Sheena Shea's
over
good as
when
gold in the
Ariana's away.
jacuzzi.
I know.
In the jacuzzi
I
as
know.
well.
Jacuzzi.
What?
On
And
top of
she
that.
stayed all night, yeah?
I know. Are you lying?
So anyways, the Olympics, I can't wait to see. They're doing trials right now, and I can't wait to see the actual competition. We've already won some gold medals. Are you guys watching? Are you following along? Peacock, which I talk about so much because there's so much Bravo streaming on there. They have all that Olympic stuff on there. And me and Sophie talk about Alex Cooper, the host of Call Her Daddy. They have like a watch with Alex Cooper. Like, they have her over in Paris, which is like this huge opportunity. And she deserves it. I mean, because her podcast is huge. But I was watching one of her things today, and it was like a little rough. I thought it was like, what was behind this decision? And I think it's like, when you're that popular, you have that many people that are listening to a show or watching your show. It's kind of an obvious choice to pick somebody like her to bring younger people in. But at the same time, if you get that opportunity, I would think that you would want to knock it out of the park, that you would be so overly prepared that you would, like, if you're not a sports person, that you would make sure you are a sports person for one of the number one sports events in the entire world. And maybe she'll like improve these next couple of weeks. I'll keep checking because I was really fascinated with it because I was like, wow, this sounds like kind of a like me trying to get through a podcast. Like it's not like, and it wasn't kind of like charming. Anyways, what did you guys think? Did you watch it? Let me know if you did. How was your weekend? Was it good? I had a really great weekend. I'm beat right now, but I had a great weekend. If you listened to Friday's episode, you knew my sister and my niece came into town to visit for a couple of days, and it was really, really, really nice. I really needed it, and I was so thrilled to have them both here. And I'm sad that they're gone, but it was so great. My niece is like a little lady now. She, it's wild watching my niece and nephew grow up, and I'm just so proud of them. And they've had such a tough year, with everything with my mom passing their grandma. And it was just so great to have her out here. We went to El Compadre, one of my favorite Mexican restaurants, on Friday night. On Saturday, went shopping all over the Grove and took her to like all the funky shops on Melrose. And I took her to Erewhon, which is like the really snooty, fancy grocery store where they, charge you $60 for like fancy ice. And we got the Haley Bieber shake. The Haley Bieber shake, which is just what it's $20 for this shake, you guys. $20 for this shake. You order it, it takes like 25 minutes for them to make. I mean, we looked this up, they sell 40,000 of these shakes every month. So 40,000 shakes at $20 a pop. How much is Haley Bieber getting from this? But it's insane in there. So she had heard about it. I guess that kind of stuff travels even to Arizona, and she had heard about it. So we got those. That was exciting. And then we took her to John and Vinny's, this really cute Italian restaurant where Pete Davidson and Kim Kardashian, they had many dates at John and Vinny's. We sat at their table. I remember that specifically, the table they sat at in one of the photos they posted when they were dating. And we sat at that table, and she said it was the best spaghetti and best meatball she ever had, which she's a tough critic. So it was awesome that she liked it. And then we were talking about older movies. Like my sister will watch movies with my niece, and my niece has like a little boyfriend now. I know that's so condescending. A little boyfriend. I'm sure he's very man, but she has a special guy in her life. I mean, she's young, like young love, so cute. My sister, for some god unknown reason, had them watch Say Anything with her. So my niece and my niece's boyfriend watched Say Anything with my sister. Now, if you don't know Say Anything is like a 19 when did that movie come out? Like 1991. Cameron Crowe directed it, who went on to do Almost Famous, Jerry Maguire, Genius. Um and he directed it and wrote it, and it stars John Cusack and Ione Skye. And if you guys don't remember, it's the one where he holds the boom. There used to be a thing called boom boxes, and that's how you would get your music, and you put like a tape in there or the radio. We didn't have streaming back then. And he held it over his hand, like his head in the rain, in this defiant stance, playing Peter Gabriel's song In Your Eyes. And it was like to try to win her back. And I like nowadays you couldn't do that. You couldn't like put like what would guys do nowadays? Like just hold their phone over their head, and then they would keep getting interrupted because they would get notifications from like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I mean, it would be like a mess. I mean, those kind of scenes can't exist anymore. But even when I heard this, I was like, Kara, you watched that with them? Because there's a scene where they make love, or, do the hippity dippity for the first time, kind of like Alexis and John Bellino and OC. And like, they're like shivering, like it's like beautiful, but it's like in the back of his car. And I just thought, how, like, it cracked me up. Like, remember back in the day, you guys, when you would watch a movie with your parents and then an uncomfortable like sex scene or even just a kissing scene would happen, and you would be like, "Oh, gross, turn it." Or your parents would be like, "Oh my God, where's the remote? We gotta turn this off immediately." Like they were like, "Oh God." But Kara was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that scene." And then I like tried to fast forward it and talk over it. And I like my niece was like, "It was awful. It was just awful." And I like, could you imagine that? Watching that with your little boyfriend? watching like a with the person that you're dating's mom is right there. It's insane. So, but we were talking about like old romantic comedies and teenage films, and we were talking about the movie Can't Buy Me Love. And so we got home from the restaurant and we put on Can't Buy Me Love. Here's another bone to pick. Anytime I remember an older movie, I'll go to look for it, and it's never on any of the streaming services. It's never on Netflix. Like, Can't Buy Me Love was not streaming, and we had to rent it for like $4. I almost feel like there's some kind of electrode Apple has in my brain where they will sense that I'm about to like be interested in an older movie, and they'll be like, take it off streaming. We're gonna make Ryan pay $4 for it. So we watched Can't Buy Me Love. Now, Can't Buy Me Love, if you don't remember, or if you're too young to know what the hell I'm talking about, it's a 1987 romantic comedy starring Patrick Dempsey, who went on to Grey's Anatomy, and this actress, Amanda Peterson, who unfortunately has passed away. But it's basically this story of a nerd who gives a cheerleader $1,000 to pretend to be his girlfriend for a month in order, like, he thinks by doing that he'll become popular. And this is kind of like this would be like a standard teenage kind of romantic comedy kind of, but like the performances of Patrick Dempsey and Amanda Peterson elevate this movie so much. Like it Patrick Dempsey and Amanda Peterson, they both are so damn good in this movie. Go back and watch it. I know it'll be $4, but I don't know if you have that kind of money, but go check it out. If you like, it's so good. Like most teen actors, because I think they were both teens when they filmed this, could not pull off these kind of performances. The sincerity in Patrick Dempsey's performance is like off the charts because it's kind of ridiculous. Like Amanda Peterson's character, she's like the high school popular cheerleader, Cindy Mancini, and she borrows her mom's expensive suede outfit, which her mom said, I will not lend you. So she just takes it and, without permission, and she wears it to the like big Labor Day party. And then one of the jocks ends up spilling his wine, like, accidentally spills it all over this suede outfit. And turns out you can't get wine off a suede. I remember when I was a little kid watching this, and I remember going, oh, good to know. You can't get wine out of. I hadn't drank wine at that point. I didn't even know what suede was, but I remember that being drilled into my head of you got to be careful with suede. So she's at the mall trying to get this thing fixed, and they have the outfit, and they say it's $1,000 for a new one. And Patrick Dempsey has saved up $1,500 by mowing lawns for the last couple of summers, and he's going to buy a telescope, but he's at the telescope store at just the right time when he sees her, the popular cheerleader at his school that won't give him the time of the day, needs money for this thing. So he sees this and says, listen, I'm not going to buy the telescope. I'll give you $1,000 to buy this outfit. You just got to pretend to date me for a month. And he thinks that will make him popular. And the thing is, it works. It does make him popular. And the thing is, she starts kind of digging him. She kind of starts falling in love with him. She shows her special poetry that she's never shown anybody. He takes her to the airplane graveyard and shows her like the moon. And it's like all this romantic stuff. But then like, he's like, okay, how are we going to break up? The month is over. And she was like, oh yeah, the breakup. I forgot this was all an act. And he's like, okay, yeah. And, he doesn't realize that she's into him. All he's thinking about is being popular because he's been a nerd his whole life. And I think for all of us nerds out there, we really related to this, like I was that guy, not Patrick Dempsey, but I was like, I think we're all I think a lot of people that really love pop culture at some point have felt deep alienation in their life. Like I remember I used to, in elementary school, I just went back to Kansas. I officiated a wedding there for a couple of listeners. Shout out if you're listening. And I went back to my old elementary school and my old junior high. And I remembered at the elementary school, it came back like there's a track in the back of Scarborough Elementary in Olathe, Kansas. And I remember just walking that track at recess. And I had like one good friend, Lisa O'Connor, and I would walk that track with her. And I remember looking at the popular kids. You had like Danny Cheesem and I'm trying to think of some of the other names. And I just thought like, wow, like what I wouldn't give to be popular. I think that's why this story resonated with so many people. And this movie still comes up in conversations to this day because it's this thing of like, isn't it better to be on that other side? Wouldn't it be great to be universally loved? Wouldn't it be great if everybody loved you? And the whole moral to the story, too, is that popularity isn't all what it's cracked up to be. Being cool at the end of the day doesn't mean shit. I mean, listen, I'm probably taking way too much. Like I'm probably leaning on this movie way too heavily about life lessons. But I got to tell you, I watched it last night and it still holds up. Um, but I think that's such a strong notion, and you see it everywhere. You see it on a lot of reality shows. We can even dissect Vanderpump Rules and Real Housewives through that rubric, through that looking glass, where all of these people, like I've been recapping the first season of Vanderpump over on the Patreon, and I always think about Sheena. Sheena's in that first season, and you can tell that she really wants to be liked. She really wants to be loved. She wants to be part of the cool gang. And the cool gang in Vanderpump Rules that first season was Katie, Dodie, and Stassi. And Stassi was like, hell no, you home wrecking whore. I mean, those are literally her words. And you can see that desire and that need of like, I want to be this. I want to be so much more. Even one of my favorite bands, Counting Crows, don't make fun of me, you guys. In the song Mr. Jones, there's a lyric of, we all want something beautiful. Man, I wish I was beautiful. And I thought always that summed everything up. Like we all want to be beautiful. We all want to be cool. And we all don't think we are that. And I was also thinking about this movie because they're so young. They're so young. And Amanda Peterson, the actress that plays Cindy Mancini, she unfortunately passed away in 2015. And she dealt with a lot of substance abuse issues throughout like the last 15 years of her life. And I was shocked to look this up and see all of the different arrests and stuff. But it's so interesting because I think sometimes with movies, TV, music, she's frozen in kind of this carbonite, where she'll always be like Cindy Mancini in a way. She'll always be perfect. There's this movie that will last forever that's already lasted longer than unfortunately she lasted. And it's like perfect, like it's just in glass. It's just right there. And I think that's the power of youth is that we don't even realize how powerful and how beautiful we were our entire lives because a lot of us have spent a lot of years wanting to be more than we are and then not realizing how much we are to even begin with. Listen, I know this is all me being a complete pussy, but this movie also is so flippin' funny. You have a young Seth Green playing Patrick Dempsey's brother. He's hysterical in it, like a little kid. You have like one of the first clapping scenes in a teen comedy, which went on to be in so many other movies. And that's what I mean by that is at the end, Patrick Dempsey makes this big speech because they're picking on his friend, the Jocks, after he's been discovered to have paid to be popular. So he's alienated, but his friend is being picked on. And so Patrick Dempsey goes up and like, stands up for his friend and, makes this big speech of like, we all used to be friends back in elementary school. What happened? It's not about like whose side of the cafeteria you're on. Who cares about being popular, this or that? We're all just people. And it's like this big impassioned speech. And then he walks away and like the guy that's picking on the nerd, like shakes his hand. And then one of the jocks goes, starts clapping. It's like slow clap. And then the rest of the outside cafeteria, which by the way, they have an outside cafeteria in Tucson, Arizona, which is disgusting because it's so fucking hot in Arizona. So everybody starts clapping and then it's like fast clap and you see nerds and popular being like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's that we've seen that scene repeated in so many other movies after Can't Buy Me Love, the slow clap that leads into a group clap. And you can't help but tear up in those moments. The music swells. It's just incredible. I love this movie so much. You guys, I talked about Mannequin, I think a year and a half ago on this show because I watched it like over the week, like over a weekend, like a year and a half ago, and talked about it. And Can't Buy Me Love hits those. Now, listen, Mannequin is probably a little more realistic than Can't Buy Me Love. It's about Andrew McCarthy falling in love with a mannequin that comes to life, and it turns out to be Kim Cattrall. That's a very realistic story. This is probably a little more far fetched. But I remember seeing this as a kid, and I just remember thinking it was the best movie ever. And I've watched it so many times throughout my life. And each time I watch it, I love it. I love it. It shows like the things that we want, this quest for popularity or the quest for fame. It never is what it is cracked up to be. And sometimes the actual personal relationships that you form, that's where the real gold is. And I've always talked about this on this podcast, is that, I've spent so much of my life wishing I was cool and then having to accept in the last couple of years, I am the antithesis of cool. I am not cool. And there's strength in that. We are the uncool, and that is okay. I mean, that is okay. Lean into your weirdness. Lean into whatever makes you happy, as long as it doesn't hurt other people. But you totally can lean into that, and there's so much power in that. To not care if you're not, if you're cool or not, to not care what other people say about you. I still have to try to do that every day. That's a really hard one. But I love this movie. And then I went back and I was looking about this movie and when it was released, and I was like, this movie must have gotten great reviews. This movie must have just really I can't believe it wasn't nominated for an Oscar. Get this. Roger Ebert, rest in peace, Roger Ebert, one of my favorite critics from Siskel and Ebert. Loved Roger Ebert when I was growing up. He gave this film a 0.5 star out of 4 stars. He said, if Can't Buy Me Love had been intended as a satirical attack on American values, if cynicism had been its target, we might be onto something here, but no. On the basis of the evidence, the people who made this movie are so materialistic, they actually think this is a teenage comedy. Can't they see the screenplay's rotten core? And man, I cannot disagree with Mr. Ebert more than with this. And I always thought Roger Ebert really never nailed it when it came to teen comedies or what teens go through. And I think because Roger Ebert, I read a book on him, and Roger Ebert was always really fucking good at writing. He was really good at communicating. And I don't think he dealt with some of the insecurities that so many teenagers go through. So I thought he saw this as they're commenting on materialism in teens. And that's not what they were doing at all. It was a commentary on how we want to be so much more than ourselves, realizing that the things that we want to be are so fake and phony to begin with. And I just was so disappointed in reading this. Let's see here. Some other facts about it. On Rotten Tomatoes, which didn't even exist back then, but they updated their site based on 24 critics. It has a rating of 50%. 50%. What the fuck? And that's another thing that goes to show you, even if you are critically panned, even if a lot of people hate your work, hate what you do, there's so many other people that love what you do. Which, by the way, also relates to Real Housewives of New Jersey this season, because I watched tonight's episode and I can't get into it. I know so many people do. I can't seem to care. I can't seem to fully. I mean, Margaret Joseph's kind of iconic for sending the flower arrangement to Teresa while Teresa called a group meeting to complain about Margaret. But at the same time, I'm like, as a dark black comedy, this might work, but to realize these are actual people, we are seeing the same storylines again and again and again, like Groundhog's Day. I just can't. But I know then I'll see online, people love this season of Jersey. And I guess it's all right. It's okay to disagree. And maybe you just let that, you don't see it how I see it. And I really am ashamed that I now compared Can't Buy Me Love to Real Housewives of New Jersey. Anyways, I just wanted to shout this movie out and talk about it because I had such a great time. And my niece even loved it. She held up completely. We totally loved it. And also just a shout out to Amanda Peterson, who passed away in 2015, who played Cindy Mancini. This lady knocked it out of the park in this movie. She went on to do a handful of things after Can't Buy Me Love. She did a movie called Listen to Me. She did a guest spot on Doogie Howser on ABC. She was in the movie before Can't Buy Me Love, a 1985 movie called Explorers, which Explorers I loved as a kid too. This movie starred a young Ethan Hawke and a young River Phoenix, and they build a spaceship. They build, and I remember this so much because back when you're a kid, when you're a little kid, you can see two pieces of wood in your dad's hammer and think you can build the Millennium Falcon. You literally think, I can do anything. That's the power of youth. You're a little fucking idiot, but there are no brakes on your imagination. But this movie explores, they build a spaceship, but like Ethan Hawke and River Phoenix. And by the way, rest in peace, River Phoenix. Another person gone too soon. River Phoenix died the Halloween night at the Viper Room when it was owned by Johnny Depp so long ago. And he was one of our greatest actors of a certain generation that was gone way too soon. I mean, his work in My Own Private Idaho with Keanu Reeves, or the beginning of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, or my God, Stand By Me. This kid had given so many amazing performances. Of course, his brother has gone on to carry that name, Joaquin Phoenix, just amazingly. And when Joaquin won the Oscar a couple of years ago, he, of course, thanked and shouted out his brother, which, by the way, Joaquin Phoenix, he was there the night his brother passed away outside of the Viper Room. And, you know, unfortunately, they released the 911 call where Joaquin Phoenix calls the 911 operator. And it is just heartbreaking to hear a young Joaquin Phoenix plead to have people come help his brother. Wow. This is the thing about loving pop culture. I could go, I mean, everything connects with everything. So anyways, Amanda Peterson, I just thought, what a tragic loss. But at the same time, you have these amazing things that show you at your peak, that show how damn good of an actor she was, especially in this project. And Patrick Dempsey, my God, you know, I would love to interview Patrick Dempsey one day. And I know the obvious things to talk about would be Grey's Anatomy and all of the career's ups and downs he had. But man, I would just love to talk to him about Can't Buy Me Love. He's got to have people come up to him all the time and say how much that movie meant to him. And that is the power of pop culture, my friends. Okay, that was my Can't Buy Me Love rant. Let's get on to some pop culture news, and then we'll get to soap. Okay, let's get into some pop culture stories. Wanted to say also, I released a Patreon interview with our good friend Samaj Bludson. Samaj has been on the Patreon a bunch. We do like quarterly check-ins. He's a great guy, and he literally goes to every housewife event. He always is like at every premiere. He always is taking, like, he had, like, we tell the story of him going to find Glenn Powell when he was on the press tour for Twisters a couple weeks ago. We talk about him going to Kyle Cook's DJ event that they also filmed for this upcoming season of Summer House. He cracks me up, and it's good to do quarterly check-ins with him because his life is so much more exciting than mine. So there's like an hour and 20-minute interview over there with him. On top of, we're doing the Vanderpump Rules recap over there, and we got some other things on the Patreon this week. Also, if you like this podcast, even though there have been sound issues lately, please consider giving it a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Even with the sound issues, we had a great week last week. The Love Island contestants, Ronnie and Ben from What's What Crappins, IG Famous by Dana, the OC recap, Annie Elise from 10 to Life. Man, a really great week. And I think we have another great week coming up. I already did an interview you'll hear on Tuesday that I think you'll really love. We got some reality stars coming in as well. So great week up ahead. Also wanted to finish up a couple thoughts about Real Housewives of New Jersey, if you don't mind. Next week is the finale. And remember, they don't have a reunion this season because it was too contentious. So what they did is they had a watch party at Rail's Restaurant, which is where the finale takes place next week as well. And there's like 2 separate rooms that they're doing the watch party in. And then I guess Dolores goes from room to room because she's like the connector that's okay with everybody. Andy Cohen is not there. Like, I don't know. Like, they should have like Danny Pellegrino or Ariana or somebody there just to make sure. I'm curious how this is all going to pan out. I mean, they've been doing this for a long time, so I'm sure it'll be fine. But I'm kind of just happy that this season is going to be over with. There are so many weird elements of this show that are funny and they kind of work. It's a dark comedy, but at the same time, I don't feel like there's really any gel, any forward motion, because, you know, this is just lifelong hatred that these people feel for each other. And as a Bravo audience, we've all chosen our sides. It's not even worth me wasting my breath because I'm not going to convince anybody of, like, you know, my thoughts. And also, I don't even think that deeply of it. Like, I'm still in the camp of, I love Melissa and I like Teresa a lot. I think there's some weird things. I feel like we should be able to point out there's some weird things. Like, even in tonight's episode, Louis had some of the guys like Bill Aiden and Polly, Dolores's boyfriend over there. And we go, but this is a huge compliment. We go into a section of Louis and Teresa's new house, and he's built like one of the coolest podcast studios that I've ever seen. Like, Louis, if you're listening, can you help me? And by the way, if there's any tech people out there that live in Los Angeles, I'm willing to pay you. I need some help with some audio and video setup. So if you're listening, come help your boy. Reach out to us at so bad it's good with Ryan Bailey at gmail.com. But Louis has this whole amazing podcast studio, and he makes all the dudes like, hey, let's leave special messages for our loves, our ladies in our life, because they're about to go and have this weekend in the Berkshires, which didn't end up happening because the place burnt down. Like, what insanity? The place burnt down to the ground so they couldn't go to the Berkshires. Like, that's insane in itself. But Louis wants to record like video messages to like Teresa and Jen Aiden and stuff like that. And of course, Louis, he's like, this is off the top of my head. Teresa, I love you with everything that's in my being. I think you're amazing. I want you to have the best. Like, just he's so good at speaking. We've seen Louis give many speeches. Some they complain, like my favorite Louis speech is that one on the beach from years ago that got leaked. And they said potentially Margaret leaked it. But you remember when he's on the beach with all the other dudes, he's at the like man camp and he's like, I want to come home and marry you if that is okay with you. And all the guys are around. Like, he looks crazy haired. Everybody's like red faced because they're out in the sun all day being men and learning men things. And all the guys are like, no, you got to get deeper, get deeper. Okay. I love you with it. You guys remember that video? Anyways, that's my favorite Louis speech, but he's pretty good at speaking. So he just like knocks out like a beautiful message for Teresa, like right out of the gate. The whole time I'm watching this, though, I'm just thinking, this mother effer, he's got the best podcasting studio, the best cameras. I was like, should I reach out to Louis to find out what I'm doing wrong? Like, how much did he drop on that? I love that I'm just watching things and I'm just like, damn, I'm just like seething with jealousy. I'm not even paying attention to the plot anymore because it's very thin on Jersey this year. And I'm just paying attention to how nice this podcasting studio looks. But listen, there's never going to be peace in Jersey. We just got to accept it. And my limited way of thinking is that I do like a show where there is drama and conflict, of course, but I do like when everybody can come together, and it doesn't have to be Goombaya, as as was said on tonight's Jersey by Dolores, but I do want like where we can all be in the same room. We've all got to eventually be able to be in the same room and have peace for conflict to start back up again. So I don't know. Supposedly they're going to put it on a long pause. I was almost ready, like at the end of tonight's episode when they said next week, the season finale of Real Housewives of New Jersey. I was like almost waiting for them to I was so waiting for them to say next week on the series finale. Like, I thought they were going to like go, hey, it's end of Jersey. But of course, that's not the case because reminder, it still gets really good ratings. I'm just overall kind of like the other thing is there's so much that we already know about all of these people. Like, I guess Rachel Fuda and Danielle Cabral, those are the people that we're still kind of getting to know. And of course, everything that John Fuda has in his past. But the rest of those ladies, we know so much about at this point, where I sometimes feel like they almost feel challenged to come up with new things each season to like unveil like new secrets. Like, I still think it's amazing that 11 seasons in, Sheena kind of admitted that her and Schwartz almost made out in Vegas. Like, wow, you saved that for 10 seasons? Hats off. But where else are we going? Like, yeah, everybody's against each other. Yeah, I'm sure Margaret gets information on Teresa, just like Teresa and Jen get information on their castmates and then give it to bloggers. I mean, it is just kind of rotted to its core. So I'm really curious how you fix this. And there's still enjoyable things. I don't feel the joy that I feel with other shows. I might be in the minority on this, but I'm okay with that. There are certain scenes that I really like, and there's certain characters, but even the characters that I really love, I've seen them do better work on other seasons. And yes, I do call it work, even though it's supposed to be a reality show where they're playing themselves. So anyways, also this weekend we talk about with Sophie, Comic-Con 2024 was held in San Diego, California, one of the biggest comic cons in the world. I used to go to this thing every year. I think I've been to Comic-Con like 5 or 6 times, and I used to love this convention so much. Like being a fanboy, it wasn't just Housewives, guys. It started with like superheroes and Star Wars, and I'm pretty well versed in comics and nerd culture as well. And I was looking at all the photos and the tweets from this weekend, and I was kind of jealous because man, it's so fun to walk around there, and everybody has all this cool stuff for sale, and you try to find like these little toys and mementos from your childhood. That's the thing. I think like part of life is just chasing down the joy that we had at certain childhood moments, like certain toys you had. Like, I find myself chasing that. Like, oh, if I can find the Knight Rider car that David Hasselhoff used to drive in the show Knight Rider, that is going to fill the hole that I have in my heart. That's what Comic-Con is trying to fill that hole and getting really excited about TV and film. And there were a bunch of big announcements, some which we talked with Sophie, but one of the big announcements is Dexter, the show on Showtime. Michael C. Hall, who has played Dexter, he's coming back for a new limited series playing Dexter. And they're also doing a prequel to Dexter where a younger actor is cast as Dexter, but Michael C. Hall will be doing the voiceover in that. And speaking of Can't Buy Me Love, Patrick Dempsey is playing a lead role in that. Now, young Dexter's father is played by Christian Slater, which is amazing casting and amazing late 80s, early 90s actor in the pantheon of teen films. You got Heathers, you got Pump Up the Volume, you got Young Guns 2. Christian Slater was the shit. And he still is the shit, but man. So they announced that at Comic-Con, had a bunch of Marvel announcements, DC Comics with Batman and Superman, their DC Movies outlet. They unveiled their new logo. Now, the new movie with Superman, directed by James Gunn, who did Guardians of the Galaxy and all that stuff. He's in charge of the DC movie universe now. And they are currently filming the new Superman, and they were not at Comic-Con. They didn't have a presence, DC, but they're saving that for next year. And by this time next year, the new Superman will have had come out. So a lot of big announcements in TV and film, but it looked great. Were any of you guys there? It looked awesome. I still think, I know BravoCon is kind of like this for Housewives, but I think we can get bigger. And I want more merchandise. I was at Target last week, and you know how they have those like pop culture shirts, which is kind of crazy because you think back, you're like, I don't know if Kurt Cobain would want Nirvana t-shirts sold at Target, but who knows? But my thought is I was at Urban Outfitters with my niece, and I saw a Desperate Housewives shirt. Why can't we like do some official license Real Housewives early edition t-shirts? Like Real Housewives of New York, and have the cast photo from the first season. I would buy the fuck out of those shirts. Vanderpump Rules season 1 cast photo. I would buy the hell out of that. Why doesn't Bravo license directly to Target, Urban Outfitters, things like that? And the other thing, and I've said this since like day one of this podcast, you can go back and check. I've always wanted them to have, those pop figurines that Funko makes. They need to have a Bravo line of Funko Pops. I would love to have a little Ramona Singer. You could have a little an Aviva dresser, which would have like a leg on the side as well. You could like throw a little pop Funko leg. I mean, I think that like, these are easy. I want a Lego set of like the Sir Alley. Can you imagine a Lego set of the Sir Alley? How much hours of enjoyment I would have just putting that Lego set together. I think there is so much room for licensing in Bravo, and we just don't do it. But I'm also the guy that would be like, I would buy action figures of Gypsy Rose from her reality show this season. A little like Ryan, her ex-husband, like, I can't believe you're leaving me, Gypsy. I would buy those. There's something about loving something with me where I need to collect something. I need to have it in my hands. I always talk about the reality show museum that I want to have one day. And it's all based around just wanting stupid shit. I love it. Man, I know they have Jax's chunky sweater now at the Watch What Happens Live offices, but I'm going to pull like an Ocean's 11 mission one day and just steal it directly out of the Watch What Happens Live on. Because to me, that belongs with me. Also, I was the guy that, remember, I wanted Tina and Mike Shea. You know, they had those wedding photos hanging in their apartment. Oh, I so badly wanted one of those back in the day. If anybody knows how I can even make a reprint of that, I mean, I think that would be just the coolest thing to have a Sheena Mike Shea photo in my home. It's like a great conversation piece. Are you kidding me? Also, this was breaking news out of Comic-Con. Actor Jennifer Garner, Ben Affleck's ex as well. She was stuck in an elevator at Comic-Con for over an hour. She was there to do a panel of a movie that she pops up in, and I don't want to spoil that. But she was there and she posted a Instagram saying, "Hey guys, we're stuck on this elevator and I could use some superhero help. We're looking for stairs. Okay, thanks for having me at my first Comic-Con." It is unclear whether Garner was trapped in the elevator before or after the panel that she did. And in her Instagram post, she shared multiple videos taken at various points when waiting in the stalled elevator. After 10 minutes, Garner found the enclosed space to be, quote, toasty, which made her start to sweat, quote, "I'm schwitzy and I need to blot. Don't cut the blue wire," is what we're hearing. I think I heard that on an episode of The Office or Brooklyn Nine-Nine or something, that you're supposed to sit. So we're sitting. Now, Garner tried to wait patiently, but she got antsy. Approximately 40 minutes into the ordeal, she tried to start a sing-along of 99 bottles of beer on the wall before her group called emergency responders for assistance. After about an hour, the elevator lights and sounds resumed, but the elevator remained stationary. The elevator doors were finally pried open by firefighters after 1 hour and 12 minutes. So, yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow, who likes to comment on celebrities' Instagrams, wrote, "Okay, no way. Oh my God, how are you so calm?" Tracy Ellis Ross wrote, "Oh my, well done on staying calm." So, thank God Jennifer Garner is okay. Sorry she was stuck in an elevator for an hour and 12 minutes. God, imagine that. Imagine you're stuck in an elevator with Jennifer Garner. And then imagine like she has to piss or something, like, or you do, and you have to like pee in a water bottle in front of Jennifer Garner. That's like nightmare fuel. Moving on to the Kardashians. Now, we talk about this with Sophie a little bit because they had the finale of this season of the Kardashians, which I've kind of stopped watching, unfortunately. But we had big news because Courtney and Scott Disick's son, Mason, who really hasn't appeared on this show in so long, he's 14 years old now, and he made a cameo in an episode, which was kind of huge because, as E! News reports, he's been living a more private life these days. So I thought that was great. Um, Courtney said, "I see comments all the time that I'm never with my kids, and I just don't love to post my kids on social media. They don't love it. Sometimes they do, but a lot of the times they don't." In Mason's case, she noted he doesn't want any part of it. He doesn't love it. "I want my kids to be kids. I crave normalcy as much as we can have it." And I thought this was really interesting because, I mean, Mason, 14 years old, and you would think, my God, a lot of us would kill to be in the Kardashians. Just financially, it would be amazing. And, we've seen Mason grow up, which has got to be weird to have strangers watch you grow up in the public eye. Like, I remember when Mason would like go live on Instagram and get in trouble, or, he would like sneak tweet something, or he would like wear like furs because like Kris Jenner would like buy him these outlandish Versace outfits. And I was like, my God, this kid wants to be a star. Then I was kind of relieved when he didn't want to be on TV. I was like, good for you, dude. Pave your own way. And also, I guess he potentially likes hanging with his dad, Scott, a little more than like going on tour with Blink 182. So shout out Mason. We speak your name this Monday on So Bad. In potentially lighter news, the TLC show Sister Wives should be gearing up for a new season rather soon. And I'm very curious where the story goes now because, listen, I tune in to watch Plural Marriage. And it turns out Cody only has kind of one wife now, pretty much. He's down to one wife, and that's just not. I want to watch people with multiple wives. And that is no longer Cody. Now, Maritza found this article, which cracked me up. This is from, let's see, from TV shows ace.com. And it says, "Are Sister Wives claiming that all of Cody Brown's filler has now caused him sausage lips? It has long been speculated that he has mild cosmetic procedures such as Botox and possibly fillers. So what makes them think filler is the reason for the inflation? Keep reading for more details." And I read that. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm going to keep reading. And this is a whole article about fans saying that Cody Brown now has sausage lips. He now has sausage lips. Listen, my thing is like, how do you even look at the lips when all I'm looking at every time I see Cody is those tendrils of hair, and he's like trying to position them right so like nobody can see that he's like losing his hair. So he's always like his little tendrils, he's like spacing them like like over his face, so it looks like he has like rock star hair when it's just like covering up certain balding areas. So when I watch it, I'm just looking at those tendrils, like Cody's tendrils. Like I want a Pixar animated movies called like Cody's Tendrils. But it says, yeah, Cody's known for his hair. It started out straight, and then the curls came in with eventual highlights, and soon the ponytail became something he experimented with. He was desperately trying to hide his receding hairline, but if he bent the wrong way, it was quite obvious. Imagine writing an article. First off, imagine writing an article about this. Second, imagine you're Cody reading an article about this where you're like, holy shit, they're on to me. The article continues. Cody had a thick band of curls followed by a strip of nothing. Then the rest is his bushel of hair is just his signature curls. Yet, as time has gone by, Cody's face has also become a topic of it's become a topic of conversation. It looks tighter, which leads. This is journalism. Is this going to win the Pulitzer? It looks tighter, which leads to questions if he has been getting some rejuvenation. Has Cody been getting Botox, facelift, and fillers to keep himself looking and feeling younger these last 55 years, especially after losing 3 out of his 4 wives? Damn. A Reddit thread was started to talk about Cody's morphing face. Shout out Reddit. The OP asked this. We all agree he's gotten some kind of work, right? Definitely filler. Now, there was a lot of speculation that said, these comments said, sausage lips at his age don't just happen. They are weird looking and I just can't unsee them. I'd guess he had a brow lift and maybe something done around the eye or even some filler talks. No way his vain ass is going to age gracefully. He's gotten something done. So a lot of people in the Reddit thread agree. Now, also, steroids has been a part of this conversation, which they're saying potentially causes Cody's severe mood swings. Um, Wife Christine shared she was leaving the plural family. Cody lashed out at everyone. And then also the thread said it had long been speculated that Cody is taking some sort of steroids, which the side effects are irritability, mood swings, manic symptoms, paranoia. It can also affect facial features by making you appear round and puffy. Hey, can it give you sausage lips? They're saying he's using TRT. He also looks like he's at Botox and fillers. I think TRT is that male? Is that testosterone? I think it is. Okay, anyways. That's pretty much the consensus of the article. There's not much more than just the fact that, like, my God, I just read an article about Cody Brown having sausage lips and I love it. Okay. This is a Glenn Powell rumor that is out there. Now, he had the #1 movie last week before Deadpool and Wolverine cleaned up at the box office this week with Twisters. But now there are big rumors that he is going to be playing Batman in that DC universe that James Gunn is creating that I just talked about, because he followed James Gunn and the director of the new Batman movie, Andy Muschietti, on Instagram. Now, this is a different Batman than the Robert Pattinson, the Batman that is about to go into production in the beginning of 2025. So it's a whole different story, whole different Batman. So Glenn Powell followed on Instagram the director and James Gunn, who will be the producer and in charge of all DC films for Warner Brothers. So they're saying this makes him pretty much the top pick for the new Batman. Would you like to see Glenn Powell as Batman? I mean, Glenn Powell is everywhere. I really like that dude. I don't know if he's the right kind of thing for Batman, but who knows? He had a bit scene in The Dark Knight Rises. He played a stockbroker at the Gotham Stock Exchange, and Bane, you remember the Bane? I am Bane. I have something covering my mouth so you can't understand me. Yeah, he had a scene with Bane, Thomas Hardy, and Bane like puts him on a motorcycle and takes off with him. Like if you go back and watch the movie, you're like, oh shit, that's Glenn Powell. So we'll find out. Glenn Powell, Batman. Do you want to see it or not? Okay, In Style magazine has an article. This is great. Taylor Swift and Jake Gyllenhaal's relationship, a look back. And this was an article just going over their entirety of the relationship. But there is one detail in this that really stood out to me that I was kind of like, what? That's a lot. In Style magazine went over the entirety of their relationship, which was in 2010, but they said that Jake Gyllenhaal at one point shelled out a reported $165,000 to fly Taylor Swift to London while he was promoting the movie Love and Other Drugs. Remember that movie back in the day? Love and Other Drugs, and he flew her there just so they could spend 24 hours together. I mean, what is the most you guys have spent on a romantic partner? And I don't know if any rich people are if there's any billionaires watching this or listening to this, what's the most you've spent? But $165,000. That's insane. Like, you've got to make sure money is constantly coming in to even consider paying $165,000. These rich people are insane. My God, I wonder if Jake Gyllenhaal ever regrets that. Of like, God, I wish I had that $165,000. That would really come in handy. Okay, moving on to 90 Day Fiance. Angela, this is in people.com, People magazine. We have the Happily Ever After season 8 tell all that is airing now. And this is about Michael and Angela. And this says Angela wishes she never brought Michael to the U.S., says all he's done in their 7 years together is lie. Michael, all he does is lie, Michael. Yeah, no shit, Angela. Like, I don't think it's ridiculous. The fact that you thought this was going to work out to begin with is insane. And we've watched this insanity season after season. Now, I don't cover 90 Day Fiance, but I like to dabble and I like to watch it. Usually I dipped out on this season. I couldn't do it. I think it was all the Love Island, but I might watch this reunion. Anyways, she said at the reunion to Big Ed, she goes, as much as I love him, I don't trust him, Ed. I'm sick of it, man. I wish I never brought him here. He's making a fucking fool out of me. Angela, it's not just him making I love that she thinks Michael's the one making a fool out of her. She accuses him of using her for a visa. That's the whole fucking concept of the show, man. That's what they're all doing for the most part. She continued screaming at him in front of everyone as she ran through the issues they've been having, including how Michael sleeps in the living room and hasn't fucked his wife in 2 months. You knew me for 7 years. You got all these people out here in the goddamn world thinking I'm a bitch and I'm a good-hearted motherfucker. You've been a piece of shit. You cheated on me. Your goddamn bitch is somewhere in New Jersey. Is that why you're sleeping in a fucking different room? Oh my God. What if Michael's like hooking up with Jen Aiden in Jersey? Anyways, Michael denies all of this. Angela said that his was near his I don't know what they don't say the word. Anyways, she's like, why don't you call that New Jersey bitch and tell her to come get your ass and your passport? She also said that Michael will lie and he'll take that lie to the grave. 7 years I've seen you do nothing but lie, Michael. So prayers up to Angela and Michael. Hopefully they can work this out. Moving on to Summer House news. This is Us Magazine reporting West Wilson from the Summer House cast wants to have dinner with the Real Housewives of Orange County ladies. He says that they would warm up to him fast. This is an exclusive interview with the 29-year-old Wes Wilson. He said, I was going to go with Housewives because it's just so out of my league. When he was talking about crossing over series, would you rather do OC or Below Deck? And he said, Housewives, because it's just so out of my league. What would I do there? If I went to dinner with those women in Orange County, how much would I learn in that dinner? After mulling it over, Wes predicted that women would warm up to me faster than they'd want to lead on. This guy is really cocky all of a sudden. What are we going to do with Wes, man? He is super cocky. He went on to say, I think Below Deck is cool, living and working on yachts. So that would probably be the most unique experience, I think. He was promoting his partnership with Captain Morgan Sliced. Wes, why aren't you coming on So Bad It's Good to promote Captain Morgan? Come on. He said, I don't want to be on a boat longer than a day. And they're on there for weeks at a time. Anyways, I think it would be great if West dated Shannon Bedore. I know they're doing that Housewives dating show, but could you imagine that West teaches Shannon how to love again? I would love that. Also, in Taylor Swift news, I know we just did that Jake Gyllenhaal movie, but that story, but Taylor is still doing world domination on her Eras tour, and it stopped in Munich this past week. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but I guess this took place on Olympic Hill, which is like in Olympiaburg, one of the highest elevations in the southern German city. And there's a high perch, this high heel that you can look into the stadium. And all of these people, you got to check out these pictures. It is just flooded with people. They estimated 25,000 people gathered on this hill Saturday to get a glimpse of Taylor Swift Eras tour. So it's like the picture's amazing. You see the stadium and you see the hill, and there's just 25,000 people gathered on this hill. It is insane. Can you imagine doing that? I mean, I would probably do it, but that also sounds weirdly dangerous. I mean, imagine 25,000 people that have not paid. I wonder if Taylor just like sent like, hey, send somebody out there to collect $10 at least. I need to make some money off of this. We have so many other stories, but I'm going to save a lot of these for Tuesday. But I want to end with a shout out to Lady Gaga. Me and Sophie do talk about Lady Gaga in the Pop Culture Roundup, but after we recorded, it was announced that Lady Gaga is engaged to Michael Polanski. The star introduced Michael Polanski as her fiance today. She is at the Olympics opening ceremony. She's watching some of the events. And the star revealed to French Prime Minister Gabriel Attal that she and longtime boyfriend Michael Polanski are set to be married. She introduced him as my fiance while the trio watched a swimming event together. So she's there. I mean, she's killing it. She did the opening ceremony. She's in the Joker 2. Also, Lady Gaga's 7th album, she was in a bunch of a bunch of fans were outside of her hotel and she was in a limo. I think Sophie talks about this, but she popped up and played a little snippet from one of her new songs from the 7th album coming out by Lady Gaga. So everything's coming up Gaga. So shout out to Lady Gaga. Congratulations on your engagement. And you guys, thank you for hanging in with this. If you listened to this and didn't skip ahead to Sophie, if you did, no worries. You won't even hear this. But I hope you have a great Monday. Come back all week. Remember, come and go as you please. We got so many great shows, and we have so many great shows in the past. So go dig around the catalog of So Bad It's Good. Okay, you guys, that's it. Here it is, the one, the only Sophie Ross.